Hurricane, 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 hurricane. Don't hurt them, hurricane.
Free hurricane.
Yes, indeed. What's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. And I'm here with my beautiful wife. Say hi, boo.
Hi, everyone. This is Akdeniz, and I'm from Turkey. And today we are reviewing the movie The Hurricane.
Yes, this is a 1999 biographical sports drama with a little bit of comedy, a lot of white saviorism, and a great performance from Denzel Washington. This film was directed by Norman Jewison, and he also made a bunch of other films. Like, he was making films in the 60s. And The Hurricane was one of his last films, and I read that he considers it one of his best films. And I think this is also hands down one of Denzel Washington's best performances. We watched it a few nights ago. This was the first time for both of us. How did you feel about it?
I really liked it, actually, because first of all, it's an inspiring story, right? It's a story that's based on a real person, and and it's like, I think it was done well because they added like this different aspect of it, adding like a side story to it, you know? And like you said, Denzel was great. He was really like shining, and he was carrying this like movie on his back. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. Yeah,
I enjoyed it too. The more I think about it and the more I break it down, and when we do these breakdowns, I think we should really attack it from like our fields. Like, you're a psychoanalyst, therapist, psychologist, right? Much smarter than me. Mm-hmm. I'm like a beginning like sociologist and philosopher. So the more I think about it sociologically and philosophically from my field, I have some problems with it as far as like the film and how it tells the story, right? Mm-hmm. But I think as a piece of art, I think, Denzel carries this so much, it's hard not to enjoy it while you're watching it. It's a feel-good sort of late 90s, hey, we could end racism in like 120 minutes, you know what I mean, type of vibe. Yeah. But it goes beyond the like made-for-TV, cheesy, sappy feeling because Denzel is so powerful in this role, I would say.
Yeah, he is very powerful, and it's also like, I think it's also made in like the classic biopic, style, mm-hmm. where you get flashbacks and it's like just follows the story and all this sort of 90s style. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nostalgic watching it.
Yeah, you feel like you've seen so many other movies like this, whether it be like Forrest Gump or Green Mile or Shawshank Redemption or Life, something like that. Though I feel like Life is a much greater movie, in my opinion. Life is like hands down one of my top 10 favorite movies, just putting that out there. Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's Life, by the way, which I believe came out in 1999 as well. 1999 might secretly be one of the best years in film, because I think The Matrix came out that year. This movie came out, Life as well, but don't quote me on that. I might have to check up and look on that. But late 90s, Fight Club era type of films, they have a certain look to them that's starting to become nostalgic, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I think like in terms of themes as well in that era, it is focused on like more social things. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, movies always talk about, there are a lot of movies that talk about like social constructs and problems and stuff like that, but especially at that time, maybe because I don't even know what happened. I'm sure a lot happened, but maybe it's the racial climate and the political climate of America. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's just more attention to those themes.
Yeah. So the themes in here, we've been covering a lot, and Hurricane will be the final movie that we'll cover for our Black History Month series. We've covered maybe like 6 films in total, including this one. We wanted to try to squeeze in one more. Maybe we'll watch one this evening and sneak it in for March or something like that. But yeah, this is a true story that covers many of the themes that we've been talking about throughout this month, right? Of course, obviously, white supremacy, oppression, the use of the justice system against innocent people, like in the series you picked, When They See Us, right? Mm-hmm. I think also there's a bit of the entertainment, Black person in the limelight, which was also covered like in Black Venus, right? A little bit of that as well, because Hurricane is targeted because of his celebrity. At least that's how they tell the story, right? And yeah, I think there's also a lot of resistance in this film too, right? Because one of the themes that I think we've seen throughout all the films we've watched is that Black people suffered, but they didn't just take it laying down. No film have we watched, you know, whether that be the 24th, whether it be Glory, whether it be Black Venus, you know what I mean? Whether it be When They See Us, right? All of them show resistance to the oppression that's in front of them. And I think, you know, this is an excellent film on, you know, capping all of those stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, like watching this movie, it made me think a lot about institutions. Of course, definitely the most, you know, important one is the prison institution and how people like end up there, and also like law and also even education because of the character Lesra, right? And also, yeah, I think that stood out for me a lot, just like how it's not working at all.
Yeah.
And also the other thing was that because of Rubin, Hurricane, Denzel Washington's character, just like how strong human mind can be and how strong like hope can take you, you know, how far it can take you. And this resistance, like he went through, like his life is like very sad actually if you think about it, because he spent a lot of his life, best years of his life in prison, and yet he ended up like becoming this very inspirational person, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I told this to you when we like, you know, when the movie finished, I said like, I don't know, if I was in Rubin's shoes, I think I would have killed myself. Yeah. You know, because it's just a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he was on the verge of that. But going back to, like, the institutions part, I'm mad at you already because you're jumping in my lane. I'm the sociologist. I got the institutions.
Well, I can't help but think.
No, I got you. But, yeah, about the mind part, that's all you. I'm joking. But, yeah, the institution part about the prison stuff is important because, like, right now, for the past 2 weeks, I've been reading Asada, and I'm almost finished with it, and her time in prison plays a major part in her story. Like, most of the book is her talking about the torture she went through in prison, being put in solitary confinement, rats and roaches everywhere, not getting proper medical treatment, guards beating on you, guards not feeding you, right? Like all sorts of stuff. And actually, since you brought that up, one of my problems with this film is I think they make Carter's prison experience a bit too clean. Right? Of course, he gets put in solitary in here, and he goes through mental anguish. But I wish they showed how, you know, prison is actually really fucking disgusting. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like the water turns brown, the food is trash. You know, people are like, you know, really trying to make your time in there as miserable as possible, unless you can pay for protection. You know what I mean? Like in When They See Us, the guard let those guys get beat up. Unless they paid him like in Kit Kats or something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, that's one of my issues with this film, and I think in general, you know, we looked at Letterboxd, and some people said, you know, this is a good film because of Denzel, but the white saviorism and sort of like the whitewashing and cleaning up Hurricane's very messy story makes this hard to watch sometimes. You know what I mean? If you think about it in a critical way. Yeah, I mean, there is white saviorism in this movie, and I feel like that's undeniable. But I think I'm gonna go back to the part where you talked about prison, right? I feel like that might have been because Rubin's stance on being in prison. Because we'll talk about this more, but he was this guy that didn't want to use anything in prison because he truly believed he wasn't guilty, and he wasn't. So that could have been that, you know, he was sort of isolating himself from everyone and everything. Right. But even if he was isolating himself, like a roach is still going to crawl in his nose while he sleeps. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's how gross prison is, right? And I'm pretty sure there are parts of his book that this movie is based on, right, that were cut out because maybe it was a bit too much. Yeah. And the director, the screenwriters wanted to tell a story in a way that could make everybody feel good, because the way this story is told, it's like even the cops and the prison guards who come into the theater or turn this on Netflix or however they watch it, right, can feel good at the end. Nobody feels like bad for being white or being a part of an institution that's negatively affecting a discriminated group of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody can walk away saying, yeah, I would have supported the hurricane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the white characters in the story, the Canadians, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of questions about them because they're just like a whole mystery. I understand the effort of like making them people who learn about racism and race and the Black experience, right? But I feel like that was like done very intentionally on the nose sort of way.
Yeah.
And then there were like the characters like the prison guard that was unnecessarily nice.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, it's a bit icky.
Yeah, it gets icky. It gets confusing a bit at certain points, right? Like, we're going to talk about the Canadians when we break down the story, but in general, I want to just say this. I think that there is a space and place for these types of movies to exist, right? Because I don't think that every time we talk about the Black experience or marginalization or white supremacy or anti-Blackness, that it needs to make people walk away feeling horrible, right? I think this is a good movie for like late teens, right? But it shouldn't be where the education stops. I think the problem with a lot of these films, and people have problems with these types of films, is that a lot of people watch a movie like The Green Mile or the Green Book or When They See Us, and they say, I felt bad about that. I went through that experience and now racism is over because I've been converted and I've learned or something, right? Or they watch it and see like, oh, Martin Luther King had a dream and it's all done. And they just stop their education there or development there, right? Like, this is one piece of the story and this is one way of telling a story about resistance and overcoming those types of issues. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think what's also hard, especially for, non-Black people, is that when it happens in real life, it's like they don't recognize the same things, because, maybe it's not to the same extent where what Hurricane went through, but it's like similar things that are happening around you in your school, in your neighborhood, and then you saw the movie and you said, yeah, I would have done the same thing. Then when it happens in real life, you sort of stay silent and you don't do anything and you say like, oh, it's different. Like, it's not the same, circumstances and stuff like that. But I think just the awareness should be improved. And also action taking, not just awareness.
Because people want to watch that movie and feel like what you just said. Like, I would have been supporting Hurricane. I would have been the good prison guard. I would have been that good cop, the good Canadian, whatever, right? But, you probably wouldn't, because what you're doing now is what you would have done then, which is possibly nothing, right? At the very least. But let's walk through the story a bit, because this is actually a good movie. So the movie opens up with a boxing scene. It's all in black and white. And basically we see Denzel come into the ring in all black. He's playing Rubin Carter, this middleweight boxing boxer, right? And Denzel takes off his coat and he is absolutely ripped. Like, bruh, I've never seen Denzel. Like, when we watched Glory a few weeks ago, he is average built, man. He looks like me without a shirt off, and if I lost maybe 10 kilos, you know what I mean? But here he's a beast. And then we get a flash forward to like the present, where Rubin Carter is like in a jail cell and the guards are like coming to get him. It's like about 15 years in the future or so. And he's saying, guards, come on in here. I'm gonna take you each one out. Line them up. And he's yelling about a manuscript. And the prison guard comes in here and says, Rubin, I'm not going to let them take your manuscript. Maybe you could give it to me. Maybe you could hide it in your pants leg or something like that. And then at the same time, we get these flashbacks of Rubin like beating the shit out of some guy in the past, showing he, could have been like a great boxer or was a great boxer in the past. What did you think about the opening scene and those two back and forth shots?
Yeah, so first time I saw Denzel naked.
Well, he was not naked.
Like, yeah!
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a good looking man, even though like he's older now, but back then he definitely had something going on for him.
Was he more fine in this or in Malcolm X?
Oh, that's hard. Because like Malcolm, because he's playing Malcolm X, he has this certain aura about him that's like just hot. Because like this guy is like just, I don't know. But also Hurricane is like that too. But at the beginning, I didn't know Hurricane's story. But you know what? I'm gonna say Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Because I like Hurricane's different like
stages.
Yes.
But anyway, continue. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, at first when I saw like all the boxing scenes, I thought this was gonna be like this movie was gonna have a lot of boxing scenes, but it actually wasn't like that.
Yeah, it's not all built on boxing, but it is a sports drama, so there is parts of that make you jump up, right? And they're shot really well. I like the fighting scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's maybe only like 4 or 5 boxing scenes that are like short.
Yeah, interspersed throughout the film to help tell the story, and they're mostly done through flashbacks to make points.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're gonna be watching this just to see the boxing, that's not like what you would be disappointed, but you would be entertained in other ways.
Yeah. We have to say this too, and this is probably going to be a common comment throughout the film, but every fit that Denzel wears in this thing is absolutely fire. Like this is one of his most stylish roles. You know what I'm saying?
And mind you, like this movie is mostly in prison.
Yeah.
And he's still like showing up and showing out.
Yes.
Like, he's walking that runway. He's like sashaying all the way.
Like it's just the little details. Like he's wearing like a traditional like gray hoodie, you know what I mean, with the black beanie at the beginning. But just the way he styled the fucking towel under it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just I could tell Denzel like really got particular, like in the mirror, like one little tug on that rag, like I gotta fold it just like this, you know what I mean, to give it that extra look, because that's a memorable outfit.
Is this a fashion inspo for you? Like
the entire film, like every fit that basically Rubin Carter wears is like, that's like perfect athletic leisure comfort wear, you know what I mean?
And then it sort of transitions into like this academia, but like with flair.
Yeah, definitely. So
like a bit like little ethnical touches and stuff like that,
So basically we go back in time a bit, and we see that a murder happens at this bar. Basically 2 guys walking there with shotguns. We don't see their faces, we don't know their race, anything like that. It takes place in New Jersey, and most of this movie takes place in Jersey, and the murders happen in 1966. We see some fat Italian guy creeping around the corner, and then like he runs inside the restaurant at the same time, so it makes you think, was he a part of the murder? Is he just some guy who just so happened to see it happen and then ran inside? You don't know exactly what happens. And then we see that the police come and arrest Rubin Carter in the car with this other black guy who's driving. And this other black guy, his name is Artis, right, by the way. And the police come and say, we're looking for 2 Negroes in a white Cadillac or something like that. And Rubin Carter says one of the funniest lines. He says, will any 2 Negroes do? And that was funny as hell. So the police take them to the hospital where the people got murdered or shot, right? And one of the guys is like clinging on for life. And the detectives say, did these 2 gentlemen, shoot you? And the guy is barely awake, barely alive, but he looks up and he says, no. And then, the police officer keeps asking, and Rubin Carter, played by Denzel, is like, he said, no, man, let me go. You know what I mean? But then we see in the back that there's this other cop, and this guy says, I'm going to take you down, Rubin Carter. And Rubin Carter says, fuck you, Della Pesca. You've been trying to take me down my whole life. And then we get more flashbacks. But what did you think about those parts?
Yeah, so, I was just trying to figure out the story, but just like the beginning, like in the beginning, this relationship that they introduce us to, I was just thinking like, what could possibly be the connection between like this detective guy and, a boxer? Like, how were they involved before? So that was like a bit, a mystery to me. That like, why would he try to take this guy down all of his life? Like, of course, the obvious, like he's a racist guy and stuff, but why him, specifically? So that I was just wondering that. And it was also obvious that like this guy, Hurricane, right? He was a ballsy guy. Like he was like, what a bitch, like, you better try.
you better
try to put me in prison. Like, he was not afraid of him. And,
what did Carter say? Hurricane said something like, you've been hating on me ever since I became the champion. And Della Pesca says, you think you're a champion, but you're nothing. And then Hurricane says, I got my black champion hanging between my legs. And Della Pesca's like, fuck you, motherfucker. That was hard. That was a bar. There's so many, like, Carter bars throughout this thing.
Yeah.
But I have to say this, one of the things I caught early on in the film is that, Della Pesca, of course, is going to be the enemy, right? And the following scenes pick that up. But I can't help but separate, like, a lot of the bad people in this film are, like, white Italians, right? And it reminded me a lot of, like, when we watched, like, Jungle Fever. And in Jungle Fever, like, the racist white people in that sense were barely white. Like, they were white Sicilians, right? And in New Jersey, New York, there's a lot of people of Italian descent, and a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have some anti-Blackness within them, right? Like, they say Staten Island is basically like Mississippi in New York. You know what I mean? And Staten Island is where a lot of the cops, and mostly Italian descended cops, like, live. You know what I mean? Jersey, full of the same type of people too. And so Della Pesca and the greasy fat guy who ran up in the store, I couldn't help but associate those two things when I first saw the film. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think of that, to be honest. Like, that didn't come to my mind, but that is a good connection. And I guess it's like you said, it's a New York and New Jersey thing. Yeah. Where, there are a lot of, like, racist Italians.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense, right?
But let's be honest, like, Sicilians are still white. Like,
they're still...
They look white.
No, they play the double Monty game. Like, they're white when it's convenient, and then they claim that deep down back in the day, like, the Africans came and took over Sicily, and you know what I mean? Like, we're essentially niggas too. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, most nations do that. Turkish people do that. Yeah. And Albanians do that.
Yeah, a bunch of people do that.
Yeah.
So we see basically that Rubin Carter has been, like, writing a book the entire time he's been in jail. Also, we hear, like, the Bob Dylan song playing, the famous 1975 song Hurricane, where Bob Dylan says the N-word multiple times. But by the way, that was unnecessary.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, they cut that out. Once again, like this film, right? They cut out the uncomfortable parts too. There's more to say about that.
Yeah. Because I was like, okay, if this is a song that's written for Hurricane, like, why did you edit it and not just, like, show it in its beauty and it's also in its, like, ignorance? Yeah, a little bit.
The thing is, the song is about 9 minutes long. So, so I think that's part of the reason why. But essentially, they do, like, this interesting little, like, montage where, like, Carter is, like, writing the book, and it goes to the manuscript publishers, right? And the book goes on sale, and, like, it's very popular. But then, like, 7 years later, like, people basically, like, forgot about the book, and then we're shot to Toronto, Canada, and we see this little black boy with a deep Brooklyn accent. Like, he talks like Biggie Smalls. Like,
he looks like Biggie Smalls.
He looks like young Biggie Smalls. Like, his name is Lesra. His name is Lesra Martin, by the way. And Lesra Martin. Yeah. Yes. Lesra Martin is this young black kid who's adopted by
not adopted.
He was adopted by these white Canadians, and he's walking to the dock in Toronto with Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber, I've seen him in something before, but I don't know what. I feel like he was, like, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely seen him too.
He was Wolverine.
His character's name is Sam.
Yeah, he was Wolverine. Liev Schreiber was Wolverine in X-Men Origins. Now I understand. Okay, anyway, sorry, that was off the beaten path. Or maybe he was Sabretooth. Sorry, I'm not in the Marvel world. I just went off on a beaten track. Every time we do these reviews, I get a bit autistic. I'm sorry. Anyway, Lesra is hanging out with this old white man, and not old white man.
No, he's like a middle-aged
white man, right? And they're going to a book fair, and he's like, yo, man, why people getting all excited about these books? I don't understand it. These books, man, people will really come out here in the cold for the books. And Sam, the guy played by Liev Schreiber, is like, yep, people come out here for books. And they go out to this old book fair, and Lesra picks up this book by Hurricane Carter. He almost misses it because, like, this old this older white man says, "Give me that book now," and then tosses it back to him.
Yeah. Oh wait, it's about black people. And then I'll just leave it.
And then he really tosses it like that. And then he buys a book for 25 cents. He's like, "Yo, that's a book for 25 cents. Must not be much of a book." And then he's riding back in the car with the other white guy who adopted him, and he's played by what's his name? John Hannah. John Hannah, he's a Scottish actor, by the way. He hides that accent well. And the other guy he lives with, his name is Terry Swinton, and they live with a woman whose name is Lisa Peters. And Lisa, Sam, and Terry adopted little Lesra Martin from Brooklyn, and he lives with them in Canada. Their background is a bit strange. They're academics, but then they're also described as like house flippers. And also Lisa's job all day is to be a Karen on the phone about why Lesra can't go to school. And I guess nobody told her, like, you need, like, I don't know, citizenship or documentation. Transcripts, something like that. Like, they basically kidnapped this black boy from America and didn't happen to bring, like, his high school diploma or anything like that.
And, like, at the beginning, this is not explained, by the way. Like, this is explained a bit later, right? So I'm like, okay, like, there's this kid that obviously is not from Canada because the other Canadians are constantly saying oi. Or A, or something like that, you know. Yeah. And I thought, okay, and then we hear Lisa on the phone saying, "No, I'm not married to these guys. We just live together, all three of us." Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, okay, are they in like a 3-way relationship? You know, like those open relationship couples. Yeah. That we like watch the show.
Yeah, what is this freaky hippie Canadian slavery shit? Like,
I was so confused by like this family structure, basically, which is like, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. Like, you do you, boo. But it was just confusing because there's also like this kid, and they treat him like, you know, he's their student, right, or like they're his aunts or something like that, but we know that they're not. So it was a bit weird. Very
strange. And once again, like, what they actually do is even weirder. So you're professors and teachers, but you also do fix-ups on houses and flip them. Like, what? Like,
and why would you just randomly go and take a black kid from Brooklyn?
Like, and he said, like, he met them working for the EPA, which is like the Environmental Protection Agency. Okay. So how the fuck did this kid get a job at like one of the most prestigious like government agencies, and he can't fucking read or write? And they kidnap him to Canada. Like, make that make sense.
Yeah, did you have to take him to Canada? Like, you could have given him a grant. I don't know, pay for his school, get him a tutor. Like, did you have to take the kid away from his family? Like, that makes no sense.
I met these good Canadians at the EPA, and it's a summer job. They said they wanted to take me to Toronto. Like, and what the fuck is that? That story makes no sense.
Yeah, I have to say, like, Lesra, like, kudos to you. Like, you got balls, because these people could have taken you and then, like, child traffic you. Right. And, I don't know, rape you or something, like... That is insane.
1,000 black children go missing every single year. And Canada is the #1 source for black human trafficking.
It's just weird. I mean, you know, in the beginning of the movie, they say that, okay, this is a real story, but some of the characters have been fictionalized.
Yeah, it was like, what the fuck?
I'm like, is this the fictional part? Or did this actually happen?
It was like no explaining for that. That's like a degree of white privilege. Like, you don't have to explain your white family structure. Because if this was a black family, there was like one black woman living in a house with 3 black guys, they'd be like, oh, they're pimping her. Yeah. Or like, you know what I mean?
Because like, if this is the fictional part, why decide to do like this? You know, why do Canada and then, I don't know, if it's not real?
In the words of Biggie Smalls, in the voice of Lesra Martin, truth is stranger than fiction, B.
I guess. I guess.
The truth, it will make you do some crazy things.
I don't know, like, why didn't Lesra found the book somewhere in Brooklyn and then started fighting with, I don't know, white people in Brooklyn?
Yeah, there should be a movie just based on Lesra's story, because
it is weird.
Brad, like, oh man. Anyway, basically, they're all congratulating Lesra because he got his first book. And so he starts reading the story of Rubin Carter, and we're taken back to like the 1940s, New Jersey, and like Patterson or Newark or one of those cities in Jersey, right? And basically, like Rubin Carter grew up like a dirty ghetto kid, right? Running through the streets with his hoodlum friends, you know, committing like petty crimes like stealing stuff from shops. And so one day they're like playing by this pond, a bunch of him and his other black kids, and they get approached by this old white man who starts rubbing the head of one of these little black boys who's no more than like 8 or 9 years old and says, "You're really pretty. Oh, what's your name? Oh, that's a really pretty name. You like this watch? Here, you can touch this watch." And then Rubin Carter picks up a rock and says, "Hey, leave him alone." And he like throws it at the guy. No, he throws a bottle at the guy and it like hits him, right? And you know, all the kids start running away, but then the, you know, possible pedophile picks up Rubin Carter and like threatens to throw him over into the waterfall in Jersey. And so Rubin Carter pulls out a knife and like stabs the guy and like runs away. A few weeks later, he gets taken to the police station, and the police say, you know, he's a kid, man. And the Della Pesca comes in and says to the police officer, "I don't care if he's a kid. He's a nigga with a knife." You know what I mean? And so Della Pesca starts talking to him and interrogating him and says, "The person you stabbed was very important in the community. And so I'm going to make sure I take your little black ass down." And so then Rubin Carter gets sent away to jail for juvenile. And the judge lashes at him that he's a menace to society. And he's gone for like many years in juvenile until he escapes.
Until he's 21, he's put in jail.
Yeah, until he's 21, he's in jail, and then like he escapes somehow. But he ends up joining the army and coming back. But before that, what did you think about any of the flashback part?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the scene with the pedophile coming to the kids and stuff, that was very real, because I feel like, especially back then, that would have happened a lot.
Mm-hmm. To white and black kids. Yeah,
to just like kids in, you know, sort of bad neighborhoods, in quotation marks, like, yeah, and possibly, you know, this is what I was thinking when I watched that scene, is that a lot of these cases just went uncovered, and a lot of these kids got molested that way, and they never were able to say anything. And then when Rubin was taken to the police station, some people might think, oh, why didn't he just like tell the story? If he told the story of what happened, then, you know, the police might have believed him. Some people might say that. But first of all, like, you know, he's automatically, by Della Pesca, and also a little bit by the other guy as well, he's approached automatically as a guilty person, as a criminal, even though he's a little child. And second of all, I feel like, you know, children who grow up in like sort of traditional families where your mom gets mad at you very often, and you learn to lie in order to not get in trouble. Like, I was the same way, right? Yeah. So yeah, if you're not encouraged in a safe environment, then you probably won't tell like what is going on. And I feel like that's what was going on with him. And then also like facing this big white older dude who's a police officer, right? You're automatically intimidated. Yeah,
like there was that scene when Rubin Carter was like, "I just want to go home." Like, that was so real. Like, you know, and that he could barely get it out because he's scared. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like you said, a lot of that molestation and sexual abuse of children definitely happened a lot in the past, right? When it was underreported, not discussed, right?
And possibly even happening today, but more at that time.
Yeah, definitely more at that time, and especially towards black children as well. And there's like a special history of that because, you know, during slavery, right, we had no sexual agency. Well, I take that back. We had some sexual agency, and I read about that, you know, in the book I finished this year, you know, Black Men, White Women, Illicit Sex in the 19th Century South. Possibly the best book I'll read this year. Everybody go check out that book. It's an excellent, fucking hilarious book. But yeah, a lot of the times black people had no sexual agency under the system of white supremacy, right? And a lot of black children, men, boys and girls, were, you know, touched by massa. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Yeah, there was that. And so, yeah, basically Rubin Carter, like, escapes from jail, like a young DMX. By the way, I couldn't help but think about that, too. So, because DMX got sent to, like, a juvenile home. Rubin Carter is basically Earl Simmons, but, like, you know, if Earl Simmons picked up boxing gloves instead of a microphone.
Wow.
And definitely did not bark at people. But yeah, basically Rubin Carter escapes from jail and he goes and joins the army. And while he's in the army, he starts boxing and he becomes like a Golden Gloves boxer. They don't show any of that in the film, which I would have liked to see, but I guess maybe the budget ran out. And I guess
also it's already a long movie.
It's already a long movie, right? So there's a lot of story to tell, and it's not essentially about his boxing career, because his boxing career got cut kind of short because of the criminal case he caught, right? But yeah, he basically comes back to New Jersey, which I don't know why. And so, like, you know, he ends up, like, meeting with this girl that he ends up dancing with, and she says she's the prettiest girl he's ever seen, and her name is May Thelma Carter, and she's played by the late, great Debbie Morgan. I'm sorry, Debbie Morgan isn't dead. I'm so sorry. Don't you hate when you say that about actresses? That was really bad. I'm so sorry. So, yeah, they don't have her date of birth on her Wikipedia page, though, so who knows? That's the first time I've seen somebody who doesn't have their date of birth in, like, their
He's
face.
like my grandma.
Yeah.
They don't know my grandma's birthday either.
No, I'm pretty sure she knows. She just don't want to tell. You don't Wikipedia a woman's age now.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, Debbie Morgan, you know, plays May Thelma Carter. Rubin Carter almost gets in a fight over the pussy when he first meets her, and they have like this sultry dance, and he drops her off at her daddy's house. And when he drops her off at her daddy's house, Della Pesca is said, "You don't think we will find you?" And they arrest him again and they take him back to jail. Meanwhile, also at the same time, there's like this flashback, by the way, of you know, after Lesra is done like reading like the first 1 or 2 chapters of this book, he remembers when he was taken away from his parents, when the white Canadians came to his mama and daddy and said, "Your boy's really smart and he wants to go to college. Can we take him?" And his daddy is like, "You want to go to college, boy?" As he puffs on a cigarette, he's like, "Yeah, I want to go to college, Dad." And so he says, "All right, boy." And so, yeah, that's essentially how they finish it. Like, Lesra basically got approached.
Yeah, that's definitely not enough explanation. That's like so weird.
I'm pretty sure his dad exchanged Lesra for like 12 packs of Marlboro and 13 bottles of Beefeater.
Wow. No. I mean, he's concerned, but at the same time, you know, they're like possibly a lower income family, and maybe he thought that, you know, if Lesra stayed there, he might not be able to go to college because they might not be able to pay for it. Yeah. And things like that. And plus, let's be honest, even back then, people knew Canada was better than United States.
I don't know about that, but recently, yeah. And by the way, it's funny that we're watching this movie now after, like, recently Canada whooped our ass, like, on the hockey rink. Like, if anybody out there saw the viral video of, like, the hockey players, Akdeniz had never seen, like, a hockey fight before. Monroe used to have a hockey team, and they used to have hockey fights. I remember seeing one when I was a kid. But, by the way, it's crazy that Monroe, Louisiana had a hockey team, right?
Yeah, isn't it very hot
there? It is very hot, even though you went for the cold, like, 90% of the year is hot as hell. But yeah, hockey fights, and yeah, Canada recently like whooped the ass out of like 3 American players because Trump has been like threatening to make it like the 51st state, and it was just so hilarious. And it's funny we're watching this movie now where Canada comes and saves America. Yeah. Sure. So yeah, shout out to Canada. But yeah, okay, man. Go ahead.
Let me talk about like him meeting. What was her name?
May Thelma Carter.
Okay, that was weird too. I have to say, because he just walks into a bar and then he sees the girl, which is fine, and then like he's attracted to her, right? And his first line is like to the guy next to her saying, "That was my seat."
Yeah.
And and then he starts a fight with the guy, and then May Thelma is so swooped by all of this toxic masculinity. And then they start to dance, and they look like they've been together, like they've been married, and they've been knowing each other for like, what, 10 years or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know what happened there, but it was just too quick.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were rushing this part of the story.
Yeah, rushing the romance a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue it might have been like, not exactly like that back in the day where you get married in 2 scenes and have like a kid by the 3rd.
They literally met 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then, but you know, it was like the 1940s or 50s. You know what I mean? You see you see Denzel Washington walk in like dressed like a decorated army soldier. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, she was dripping.
No, I understand like the love at first sight thing. Yeah. I understand that, but this guy just 30 seconds ago, he was about to punch a dude, and then now you're like just, you know, your head is on his chest and he's groping you.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
All right, let's break this down. I think this is probably something that people miss when they analyze this film, is that this film is very bro-coded. Like, it's very red-pilled in a certain type of way. Like you said, like, you know, Rubin didn't win May Thelma by charm or wit. He did it by, hey, bro, you're in my seat, bro. You know what I mean? And like got real toxic masculine on the guy, puffed out his chest. And then throughout the rest of the film, basically, you know, Rubin Carter becomes basically like a stoic bro, like one of those guys who watches his like Marcus Aurelius YouTube shorts, how to become a stronger man in 60 seconds. You know what I mean? Follow these tips to become the best man and the smartest warrior.
I can definitely see doing that if he was alive today.
Yeah, but that's essentially what Rubin Carter character is, and you overlook that just because Denzel is so entertaining on screen.
And he's hot.
All right, but essentially he becomes like this, you know, gym bro, but also philosopher bro. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like how to be the best man on earth.
Yeah, how to be a superior man.
yeah, exactly.
like
he would definitely have like, he would be best friends with like Kevin Samuels.
Kevin Samuels, the Andrew Tate bros. Like, he's that one guy in the gym not listening to like podcasts, but like listening to like segments of Pop the Balloon, but only the guys talking.
What the hell is Pop the Balloon?
Remember the show where girls pop the balloon if they don't like the guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he listens to just the guys talking.
That's hilarious.
Oh, this guy said he wants to be a superior man. I go to the gym, and I go to work, and I fix my truck. He's that type of guy.
He is. A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
We just look over that because he is a strong man at the end. Like, strong as in, like, humanly strong, not masculinely strong.
Yeah. So, basically, you know, there's the part where, you know, Rubin Carter gets sent to jail again by Della Pesca because he escaped from juvenile jail. So technically he's been an escapee, a runaway, you know what I mean, all this time. So he has to do his time, right? In the true story, actually, Rubin Carter was arrested for mugging, right? He got out of the army because he was dishonorably discharged when he went to Germany. He got 4 court-martials. Essentially, he got in trouble with the military's police 4 different times, right? And got kicked out, essentially. They left that out of the story. Now, I believe the part about him going to the military and acting an ass, because that's what a lot of people do when they're like 19, 20. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I can see that. I can maybe possibly assume that, you know, him getting charged for mugging, right, could have been a racially like motivated, like he's set up, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know because the real Rubin Carter, after all of this happens in the film, when he's about 50 years old living in Canada, he gets falsely arrested for selling drugs. So, like, this same thing, like, he's that one guy who is always like, why are they always fucking with me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he just has, like, this, I don't know, curse on him.
Yeah.
That just keeps on sending him to jail.
Yeah, it's called being black.
Wow. Yeah.
It's called being a very dark-skinned, muscular black.
But how do you, I mean, yeah, I understand the racial prejudice motivated part, but it's like, how do you end up in jail 7 times without doing anything?
Yeah, he's that one guy who's like, bro, I swear I'm innocent. Every time they bring me in this bitch, I'm really innocent now.
And like, every time it happens, like, you lose more trust in, like, trust as in, like, in the, you know, law sense. Mm-hmm. That they just don't believe you anymore.
Right, exactly. Right, he cried wolf. In this case, he was like stealing sheep.
But like about him being in the military and like his true story, acting silly in the military. I think that might also be like, I don't think he went to the military because he loved the country.
No,
I think he just went so that he could escape prison and like maybe also use it in a way to have money plus have immunity, freedom. And maybe he thought, okay, like if I'm a veteran, if I'm a soldier, maybe they'll like forgive
some things, respect me, right? So, fight for the country.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't think it was like, the passion that drew him, which is understandable.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't that. I think the film missed the opportunity to make this a more complex story, right? Like, let's say they did cover Hurricane doing some crimes, right? And they also say, he definitely didn't commit this murder. But we also see other parts of his life that are not as nice. You know what I mean? Like him robbing people, or maybe him going to the army and, doing whatever stupid shit he was doing in Germany. I think we could have had a more complex, nuanced story about who his character was and how do we judge people. And maybe also have people in suspense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
About this. But the real Rubin Carter was alive during the making of this film, had a major input because it's based on his book. So it's like that sort of effect. It's like, I'm making a documentary about me. You know what I mean? So I'm going to make myself look great. Yeah. I feel like we watched a documentary like that before, but I can't remember which one. Like there was a movie about somebody, but it was like, make him look good. Maybe it was like the Bob Marley movie. Ferrari. Yeah, definitely Ferrari. No, yeah. Because like the Ferrari company is like, okay, make Enzo look great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. Yes, it was definitely Ferrari. Yeah. So yeah, any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we said in the beginning, it is a lot of story. Like just telling anyone's life is very hard in 2 hours, right? And on top of it, telling Hurricane story in 2 hours is gonna be a lot. So they sort of made the focus like his later years, and they just had to give us some background story. It did feel a bit rushed, but also at the end we got the gist. So I wasn't that bothered by it.
Yeah, I'm not that bothered by it either because once again Denzel is carrying it. Like he is just absolutely hilarious with his faces, and like the scene when he is in the gym and he's like, in the prison, because he basically turns his cell into a gym. Like he's punching the mattress as like a punching bag, like doing like fist routines against like a wall. Like you could tell Denzel really focused on like embodying this hardcore boxer aesthetic, right? And then also like reading philosophy books at night under the jail lights. Like it's hardcore. Like as just a bro watching it, you're like, bro, that's cool, bro. Like my neck got thicker just thinking about it. Like my shoulders poked up. Like bro, doing lateral dips, nigga.
It's also like he probably spoke to the actual Rubin, right? Yeah. And maybe like asked him about like his times in prison and stuff. They probably had like long talks about those things. Yeah. And I feel like he did, like you said, a great job just embodying him. Yeah, Denzel said he hung out with Rubin Carter a lot, and Rubin Carter drank a lot of coffee and smoked cigarette after cigarette after cigarette and wouldn't shut up. Well, that's good. Yeah. When you're playing someone, it's good that they don't shut up. But it might be a bit weird because I think Denzel also said it was a bit strange because he's right there while I'm acting out this scene. You know what I mean? It is. Yeah. So probably one of my favorite parts of this film is, we get these shots of Rubin Carter's life story through the book that Lesra is reading. And when Lesra closes the book, we see his life now and how his life is changing from reading this story, right? And this, we have to remember, this is like a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid reading his first book when he was illiterate most of his life. And so he comes down to breakfast one morning with the white people he lives with in Canada, and they say, hey, buddy, you had your light on all night. Are you okay? He was like, yeah, man, I was just reading this book. I can't put it down. And they're like, oh, what is it about? It's about the hurricane. He grew up hard. And I have to ask you something. Why'd you take me from Brooklyn? And they're like, what do you mean? Hurricane did it all by himself. I could have did it by myself. You sure could have. Would you have taken me if I wasn't black?
but did you take me because I was black? And all the white people get really uncomfortable. And he says, and I think the woman played, what was her name? Deborah Kara Unger. She plays the woman named, she plays Terry. No, sorry. Yeah, she plays Lisa. I'm sorry. I apologize. She plays Lisa. She says, not all white people are racist. And Leslie shoots back, yeah, well, not all black people are murderers. And all the white people get quiet. And so Leslie says, you know what I've been thinking about? I want a punching bag. I just want to punch something. And then he proceeds to drink cereal out of a plastic bag that's in a container, which Canada, you know what? We love you right now, bro. But maybe we should invade you, man, because we have to change some cultural things. It's okay to laugh, Akdi. I know you don't have to hide it. Let it out.
I'm just surprised that they made that so obvious in that scene, like the little, what is that called?
The pitcher.
The pitcher.
Yeah.
And inside the pitcher, there's a plastic bag full of milk.
Yeah.
And it stays there as Lesra and the white Canadians are talking the entire time for 5 minutes. I can see the plastic bag in the pitcher.
I've been in a lot of countries. I've been in countries where they serve you like juice, like in a little plastic bag. Countries where you can buy some eggs by the handful, like you go there, buy 4 eggs and leave. I have yet to see a country where they sell milk in plastic bags, and then people keep it in the plastic bag and pour it out in a pitcher.
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
I think maybe in Albania or maybe also somewhere in Africa, I saw like they were selling water in plastic bags. Like, I understand selling it. That's okay, because maybe it's like easier to store it or something like that. But yeah, keeping it.
Yeah, that's why.
Like, bro, why don't you just
pour
empty it out into the pitcher?
Because it's not like they even close up the plastic bag. I didn't see one zip tie, no rubber band. It's like they literally put the pitcher thing on top of it. Any Canadians out there, please explain this cultural practice. Please explain, because maybe this is the reason why Trump is mad at y'all.
Yeah. And also, like, Lesra, what are you doing? Why aren't you fixing this and going along with it? You're a man from Brooklyn.
Yo, putting milk in plastic bags is not cool. There's microplastics. This is going to get into our testiculars. We won't be able to reproduce.
Wow. Yeah, he's not going to say that. But, going to the conversation, like, they were having, this is, I guess, like I said, something I liked about the scenes with the white Canadians, because it showed them like learning once again about the black experience, and even they are somewhat surprised, and I feel like this is done very on the nose. Like, here, it's not bad. Like, I think I can still appreciate it, and it shows like, even educated, like, quote unquote, educated, liberal, white people can learn more about racism, because, yeah, we know they are not racist, but that doesn't mean you still can't learn more about the black experience.
I love this scene so much because I've been a Lesra in that sense. Like, I remember reading my first black book that changed my life. Like, I was reading a lot as a kid, but like when you first read like Malcolm X's story, or 12 Years a Slave, or like something written by Frederick Douglass, or like Richard Wright's The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Like, when you read a great black book as a black man or black woman, right? It does something to you. You know what I mean? Like, I remember reading Malcolm X's book, and the next day I'm looking at my white friends differently. You know what I mean? Like, it just does something to you, right? And you start questioning the world. And like, you're sitting in history class after reading, a book about the history of our people in America, and you're listening to the history teacher blab about the founding fathers and stuff like that, and you look at them funny. You know what I mean? And that's the great thing. I think, literature, books in general are like transformative to people, but there's something very special about black literature, in the sense that it's the same narrative that you've gotten, but from a totally different perspective, right? That can really move your mind in thinking about things differently. Just the same way, like, if you hear the story, like the woman's history of the United States, right? Like we tell the story mostly from a cisgendered, hetero male perspective, but like reading it from the woman's perspective would be radically different. The same way from the black perspective as well. But I would argue even much more so because it goes much, much deeper, I would argue. Maybe I'm being a bit biased, but I love that scene for that. And I also love that after Lesra has this tense moment with the white folks, they start reading the book too. And I think that was, as much as I dislike the white saviorism in this book, I appreciate that, they decided to read it instead of shutting it down, because that's unfortunately what happens to a lot of people when they get confronted with that sort of stuff. They say, I don't even want to learn about it. I don't even want to pick it up. I disagree with it just from off basis. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I really like that part.
Yeah. That is, I think, I really love your point of view here. Mm-hmm. Like about, certain books just like shifting your perspective. And when a book makes you think I never thought of it like this before, then you start to do it automatically about other things. Mm-hmm. Maybe things like, I don't know, not even related to that book. Mm-hmm. Or let's say in this example, maybe things that are not even related to race, mm-hmm. but now you think about gender, mm-hmm. and then you do the same thing and you say how would this be from a woman's perspective and stuff like that. So, yeah,
I think this movie is about self-discovery, and they make it even more beautiful by tying the story of Rubin Carter's self-discovery and self-emancipation to Lesra's sort of self-actualization through reading, right? Yeah. It's done in a weird way because he's kidnapped by Canadians who, have a weird fetish for this little boy they found at the EPA. But it's still a beautiful story, right? It was very moving. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Shall we continue?
Yep.
All right, so basically what happens next in the story, we keep on getting flashbacks of Rubin Carter knocking people out at in the boxing ring and stuff like that. And then Rubin Carter's celebrating his victory by watching the civil rights marches in a bar with his friends, getting drunk in the middle of the day while doing an interview with a white reporter. And the white reporter says to Rubin Carter, hey Rubin, what do you want to do about the civil rights movement? Shouldn't you be down there? And Rubin Carter says sarcastically, what you want me to do? Take my gun, go down there, shoot some crackers? This is off the record, by the way. And I don't mean that. Essentially is what he was saying. And the reporter says, yeah, sure, that's off the record. Next thing you know, a brick flies through Rubin Carter's window while he's sleeping in bed with his wife. And basically it's racist white folks read what he said in the newspaper, right? And they did not like, him threatening to fight white supremacy, right? Even though, let's be honest, he would have all right to do so. You know what I mean? At that time, if you turn on the news and see, which is generally no different than what we see now in America, every few years, with the George Floyd uprisings, with the Trayvon Martin uprisings, the Sean Bell uprisings, all the horrific murders we see. You know what I mean? I'm not encouraging violence, but if somebody were to do a Micah X in general, there's some understanding. But the white folks did not like Rubin Carter doing that. And so Rubin Carter gets into a fight with his wife because she's like, why'd you do this, Rubin? We're in trouble. We also see Rubin Carter has a baby, and this is the last time we see his baby.
First and
last time. And then, there's this scene where Rubin is fighting this other boxer, this white, I believe, Italian boxer too. And Rubin is beating the shit out of him. But at the end of the boxing match, they give it to the other guy as the winner, right? And this fight, I believe, was in Jersey as well. Mm-hmm. And people are like, Rubin got robbed. But we assume that it was because of the comments he made in the newspaper that made the judges not want to give him the win. Yeah. Any comments on any of those scenes?
It feels like at this point we sort of gotten to know Rubin's character a little bit, at least what he was like when he was younger, right? And it feels like he's just the type of guy that just speaks his mind, mm-hmm. and he's not really afraid of anyone or what anyone would think about him, and he's not trying to be politically correct mm-hmm. all the time. He's he's not a magical black person. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I think that makes him very special and unique. and makes you want to like stand with him. And also, like all of those scenes where he was getting hate because of what he said, while, you know, there was police brutality, you know, just in your face, explicit and implicit racism, just like roaming in America. No one bats an eye on that, but the hate that he got because of just what he said, it just reminded me of all the movies we watched, like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and like same shit happened to them.
Yeah, you say something and then you get violence.
Yeah. So it just reminded me of that. And then also, I know I trashed this, I don't know the artist's name, sorry, but the song The Revolution Will Not Be Televised.
Gil Scott-Heron.
Gil Scott, yes.
Yeah, shame on you for that.
No, the thing is, like, we were in Africa, we were in Mauritius, right? And you were playing his songs, but you were playing it for like a week. And his songs are like very good, but they're like poetry. They're not even like songs. I've listened to this song before, but I haven't listened to any of his songs before. Any other of his songs. And it was just getting a bit too much.
I got you.
But, you know, he is a poet, and his lyrics are very strong, and I like the fact that they played that song in this scene.
Yeah, the revolution will not be televised.
Yeah.
No, it's that was a great scene. I really liked the boxing part, and that part when he got robbed, it reminded me of like Muhammad Ali, how Muhammad Ali was like robbed of his opportunity to be great because of what he said and believed. And this Muhammad Ali got robbed of something because he believed in it in his full heart. Like, he just made a side comment. Like, he left a bad YouTube comment and then got canceled. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. The guy, by the way, his name was Joey Giardello. Joey Giardello, he was an Italian stallion, like one of the, you know, famous Italian boxers of his era. And, I think this movie further is about a little bit Italian anti-Blackness. I'm just putting it out there. I feel like it's about Italian anti-Blackness. And by the way, when this movie came out, Joey was still alive, and he was pissed that it was implied that he didn't beat the shit out of Hurricane Carter. Like, he felt like he won the fight, and the movie implies like he only won because of racism. And so when this movie came out on DVD, the director had to apologize to Joey, like in the commentary, and say Joey was an excellent boxer. And there's no evidence of this, and Carter is dead, so we don't know. But it says here on Wiki that Carter said that Giardello was the rightful winner of the fight. But there's no source for that, so I don't know if that's absolutely true or not, if he really believed that.
Oh my God. Can be, like, please, people, take a hit. Like, just, I don't know, especially white people. And, like, this happened. This man spent his, 50 years in jail of his life.
And
like,
y'all fighting over a boxing match.
Yeah, like, just take a hit. It happened, and you actually won the fight. Yeah. So, like, what do you want? Just let it go.
Like the official record says.
Like, all these, like, very superficial titles that people run after, making the director apologize to you and stuff like what did that give you, you know?
Yeah.
It's, like, so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that goes to show, like, you know, how you tell the story is probably more important than the event, right? Because technically, if you look at the boxing record, Joey won, but the movie will last longer, right? I mean, it's a Denzel Washington, you know, Academy Award-winning film, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but nobody's gonna throw bricks in Joey's window.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he can just sit in the house and simmer in it.
Yeah, I mean, true champions are made outside of the ring. You know what I mean? Like, a true champion is not just the winner on the court. Like, for me, I'll be honest, Michael Jordan will never be the greatest of all time to me, because Michael Jordan didn't stand for anything other than, like, selling shoes and, like, making bald head cool for niggas. You know what I mean? Like, Michael Jordan is only good for those things. Like, Jays, which, by the way, Jays have ruined the black community just as much as crack cocaine.
Oh, my God.
Like, do you know how many people have been killed over phone posits? Like, it's staggering. Like,
that's because of white people.
I mean, yeah, because technically, you know, Nike purposely makes it rare. Like, they could mass produce the 6s or like the 12s or whatever, right? But they purposely say, we're going to have a limited release. Only 300 shoes in the whole city of Detroit. Go. And then they let the niggas just go crazy. Like, that's genocide. Like, we need to take Nike to the UN.
Okay,
like,
wait, I correct myself. That's not because of white people. That's because of capitalism. Because J's became like this, icon of wealth and style.
Yeah.
So then, of course, people would try to kill each other for it.
Yeah, no, definitely capitalism. It is, past race, because Michael Jordan is probably worse than Hitler.
Oh my God!
Like,
okay,
Michael Jordan.
You're saying insane.
And in fact, you know what? In fact, Michael Jordan been playing in our face, because Michael Jordan had the Hitler mustache right in front of us the entire time. Have you ever seen this picture?
No.
Michael Jordan, this was in the Hanes commercial. I'm making Acti look at the Hanes commercial right now, guys. You've never seen this? This is a real mustache he used to rock.
But he has also the goatee, so it's like...
Nah, nigga, don't try to... That's a Hitler stash. He's like, these niggas about to go crazy about some J's. Look at this, man. This man, Mein Kampf. MJ Mein Kampf. The MJ stash is no... He is a war criminal. Nike, Jordan, LeBron James all need to go to The Hague with Netanyahu.
Oh my God, Simon. Stop this nonsense.
How is this nonsense?
It's not them, it's capitalism, and they're just pawns.
Yeah, but Jordan, you know better than that.
Oh, stop it.
Come on now, you seen the Jordan 6s, man. Look at these. I kill a nigga for these.
I know.
Look at these, bro. I go crazy, man. Hey, what them on your feet? Look at those, man. Come on, man. The Carmens, bro. We'll commit some war crimes for some Carmens.
This is your fault. That's on you. At this point, when you're aware of everything and you still kill a person for the J's, then it's on you, Simon.
Hey, bro. I'm just saying, man. What them on your feet?
Okay, we gotten off track. Let's go back to the movie. Let's go back to the
I don't even know where to start. What should I do?
So basically, Joey wins the fight, right? And then they are drinking at a bar, Hurricane and his pals. And also Hurricane is like with some lady, right? But lady says like, do you want to take me home? And Rubin doesn't want to take her home, of course, because he's married. And then there's a taxi for her, and also this guy comes up to Rubin and says like, hey man, I'm such a big fan of you, like can I have an autograph or something like that, right? And then Rubin says like, even better, you can be my chauffeur and you can take me to home. And basically this guy who is Artist, right, his name? Yeah,
Artist.
John Artist. And he's his fan, and they start riding together in the car, and that's when we connect the dots that this is the same night where the police took him to the hospital, and we met like Della Pesca.
Yeah.
Right, but this time, we sort of learn how the whole thing went down.
Let me say something, like, like he was trying to do the right thing. Like Carter had been drinking that night, right? So he's like, let me get this random guy who's a designated driver, and he's a super groupie. Like, drive me home, bruh. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so Artist gets caught up in some BS, right? And I'll never forget, like, so much of this film like brings back trauma from my life, because like one of the things like all the high school teachers used to tell us is like, you could be in the car with somebody and they just stole a Snickers bar, and then next thing you know, you're doing 20 years in Angola. And I'm like, what?
For a Snickers bar?
Yeah, I mean, shit like, yeah, like I used to be in ROTC, and I had this teacher who would tell me like, you need to watch out who you hang with, because you could be riding in the car with somebody and they got a gun right under their seat and they don't even know, you don't even know it. And then the police pull you over and that gun is hot, meaning like it's got a body on it. You go to jail and they go to jail. And next thing you know, your life is gone. I had a buddy that happened to, right? And it seemed like every teacher had a buddy that happened to. You know what I mean? And they told some variation of that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, when I look back on my life, I feel like that was like a little bit of like indoctrinated like anti-Blackness that they put in us, because it was like saying like, your black friend's gonna get you in trouble. You know what I mean? Don't hang around your black friends because they might have guns in their seat. Some shit like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, they never brought up those stories when it was like a class full of like white kids and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Johnny, little Connor, little Archer got fucking heroin and cocaine all up in his car. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm scared to ride with my homies because they might have a gun in their seat. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that says a lot because when you said that I just compared everything like adults said to me as a Turkish girl, you know, when I was growing up. And what I heard was that, you know, be careful with the guys. When you go outside, like, be careful with your drinks and don't trust anybody. Don't let anybody take you home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, and, you know, rape and sexual assault is a big problem in Turkey. But I think for you and for, like, a lot of young black kids, it's much deeper than that. And it also shows justice system is so far away from being just.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to get in trouble for just being in the same car with a guy who stole a Coke?
Right.
And then go to prison for 10 years.
Right.
Like, how does that make sense?
I mean, just being in Louisiana, we got these draconian laws, like these type of laws that go back to like when the French were there. Like we're one of the oldest states in the nation. And so we have laws on the books that literally make no sense. Like, you know what I mean? Death penalty for like shoplifting and shit like that. It might not be enforced, but it's just like crazy laws that we got. And just, yeah, generally, you know, there's a certain level of violence and danger that we live with in Louisiana that makes you always on edge a bit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like the teachers, I assume they were coming from a good place when they're giving that advice, but it also comes from like a little bit of like, you know, anti-Blackness, I feel like, but also paranoia about like white supremacy and how over the top they can be in their punishments and enforcement.
I mean, and they also probably heard the same thing from like their parents,
right,
or their own teachers and stuff like that. And it just feels like this sort of law system is very superficial, and it's just, you know, I don't know, I know this is silly, but it's not like always 2 + 2 = 4 in real life. It doesn't work like that. And there are times where, you know, you have to look at different perspectives, but this system feels like it only looks in one way. Like in Turkish saying time with horse, what is that called? Like the things that horses wear?
Horse blinders?
Yes. Like it sees it with horse blinders.
Okay.
You know, so you don't see anything else.
Yeah. Well, sorry for, you know, I had to talk to my therapist, a.k.a. my wife. I just had to get a little rant out right there. But, basically, you know, Artist gets caught up in all this, and he's now tagged along as the police are taking Hurricane Carter all across the city to the different spots of the crime scene. They take Carter back to the Lafayette Club where the shooting happened, right? And he walks in there, and the police ask one of the people that was there, hey, is this the guy that did the shooting? And he says no. And then the police say, okay, you can go, walk away, right? And so we tend to think, okay, Carter might be in the clear. You get what I'm saying? But then Della Pesca sits the fat, greasy Italian guy down and says, listen, I don't want to talk about your parole violations or anything else that might have happened, like a potential robbery. I just want to ask you, is there any possible way you can imagine Hurricane Carter being there? And hits the button on the tape recorder. And then the guy says, yeah, Hurricane Carter. He was there. Yeah, him. Yeah, I could see that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just basically, you know, the film sets it up like Della Pesca is orchestrating this master plot around Rubin Carter, right? And so basically they skip over the major trial and they just go to the verdict where, you know, Artist and Rubin have been found guilty of the murder. One of the best scenes, and I think one of the most famous scenes in this movie, the judge says, Hurricane Carter and Artist, you have been found guilty by a jury of your peers. And the camera shoots to the jury, and his boy, it's the pastiest. It looks like the cabinet for Trump, right? Like just the whitest men you've ever seen. It looks like the boardroom of like the Oreo company. Like,
like you can smell old people and ginger cookies.
You can smell old people, ginger cookies, Illuminati money, those sorts of things, man. Like Eyes Wide Shut card memberships, like
old people people breath.
Old people breath, and just like the N-word at the tip of their tongues. So yeah, basically the judge says you've been found guilty and you've been given a life sentence. And artist starts crying, "No, mama!" He starts crying, but Hurricane's Carter stays strong because he's been listening to Stoic Man and 101. You know what I mean? He's been playing those YouTube videos on 2X every morning while he does 300 sit-ups.
It's just that it's sad because when we're reading his book, the book is being like narrated throughout when they're telling Rubin's story. And once he gets out of jail for good this time, before getting into this orchestrated, mess, he says that I just knew I was never going to go back to prison. So when I feel like when he's convicted, it's like a realization, like the face that Denzel makes, it's like a realization that he has no luck in this country, or he has no rights in this country to defend himself against anything that he might be accused of. Yeah. And it's like sort of like him accepting his sad fate, not like accepting in a way that he's bowing down to the system, but he's just like in his own head he's accepting this challenge. He's accepting the fact that okay, I am going through this, and I gotta find a way to get out of this. Yeah.
I mean, that part when he gets, the life sentence, like, the faces Denzel makes, like, he has, like, that perfect, like, determined guy face, right? But I love Artist's face. Like, he has a face I would make. Life sentence? No, mama!
Yeah. I mean, like, and mind you, 3 life sentences.
Yeah, I don't know if in Turkey y'all do that, but in America, we love that. There are people doing like 600 years plus a life sentence. That's what it says like on their docket.
That's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Bruh. But I love, I wish they did it like, that meme of that NBA player or the guy who was like a teen who could have gone to the NBA and he like fainted in court, like that famous meme. He's like, no. And now they do it every time they say bruh and this guy faints. I know this is really sad, and there's like a whole collection of like videos of young black men who are like 18, 19 getting like a 60-year football sentence, something like that. Okay. There's like hundreds of those videos on YouTube, right? But yeah, it's I wish they did artists like that. Like he just falls down in court and says, "No, mama." But yeah, anyway, any comments?
No, I mean, it was just, like I said, it was sad because he never wanted to go back. Yeah. And circumstances that are out of his hands, like people literally plotting against him, put him there. The system put him there. This country failed him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really bad, man. And the crazy thing is, like, getting railroaded like that happens so much in America, man. Like, I remember the first time I went to court, and it's shocking. Like, you're just sitting there, and, like, if you're in there for, like, a traffic ticket, they also bring in the people who were in jail. And so, like, the courtroom is, like, all white and, like, people in suits. Then the next thing you know, they open up a door and, like, a bunch of black men in orange jumpsuits shackled together from their wrists to their knees walk through and just sit down. And we all have to act like that's normal. Like, it's one of the wildest things. Like, if you ever, God forbid, like, if we ever go to Florida, we should just go to court, like, on a regular, like, Tuesday. Because it's open to the public. Anybody can go. And you can sit there and watch the justice system happen. And, like, you see that shit happen. Like, it's crazy to think about.
Can I talk if I go there? Like, can I say, Your Honor, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
You're a bitch.
Wow. Man, I hold you in contempt of court. I hold you in contempt of court.
Man, I'm not a citizen of this country. You can't do nothing to me.
Yeah, so anyway, Carter, gets sent to jail. And, probably one of the most fascinating scenes in the film, the warden comes to Carter and says, all right, you're going to have to get naked. You're going to have to take off your suit. We're going to give you a jumpsuit right here. And you're going to behave in my prison. And so Carter says, you know what, Your Honor, sir, you have legal custody over my body, but you can't control my mind. And I refuse to wear the clothes of a guilty man because I'm innocent of what they're charging me of. And you can do with me what you want. And so the warden says, take him to the hole. And so he gets sent to solitary confinement. And probably, you know, one of the most powerful scenes, Denzel is like talking to himself in this cell as he's trapped there for like 3 months, 90 days, no shower, just food, you know, and has to deal with, you know, his psychological breakdowns, you know, him starting to blame himself, him starting to hate himself, him saying he's going to turn into an animal, a monster, all that sort of stuff. He gets out of the hole and he smells really bad. He goes up to the prison warden, another one, and the prison warden says, man, Carter, you smell really bad. Can I get you some new clothes? And he's like, are they prison clothes? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, you can send me back to the hole. And so the guard says, what if I get you some hospital. Yeah, like some hospital clothes. And then Carter says, all right, that'll do. And so that's how we find out how Rubin Carter got all those fly fits. Mm-hmm. You know, he essentially bribed the guard to not smell bad throughout his prison stay.
I think that was especially powerful because whenever we have these type of stories, right, we see these people go through the transformation of being just a number. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Rubin denies that, and that's what it made it special. I've never seen that that could happen, you know, in real life or in a movie. Mm-hmm. And that was like pretty strong, and I think that's one of the things that kept Rubin going strong for so long. Mm-hmm. Because yeah, it might seem like very minimal, you know, it's just the clothes, like what does it matter, you're still in a prison cell. But no, because when you're in a place like that, every little thing matters to you. Mm-hmm. And wearing your own clothes like a civilian, yeah, I think it would create a lot of difference. And I think that's what, you know, affected Rubin's strength after that. But also talking about the confinement scenes, yeah. I really like that part where he starts to hallucinate and he sees himself as a little kid, right? And I mean, he looks grown up, but he's stuttering like when he was a kid, and that's like showed who's trying to protect. You know, he's trying to say to that little kid, don't be scared, we're gonna get over this. And then he sees like his bad self, which is like the guy who loves to fight and the guy who's, you know, telling him to maybe it's time to commit suicide and stuff like that. And I think, you know, every person has those two personalities, those two sides. Like it's like an angel and a demon, where one says keep going and the other one says give up. And that was very powerful and very relatable also. Yeah. In a sense, like, yeah, we're not going through the same thing he's going through, but everyone goes through the same, like, sort of. Very
interesting. Like, inside probably a lot of those big, tough guys you see, there's like a little scared boy who always got picked on and just, you know, lifted weights until he felt strong enough and bad enough to beat up the bullies, right? Yeah. And Carter's sort of the same. Yeah. You think you could be his therapist?
I would have loved to. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I feel like if I were to be his therapist, I would probably learn a lot from him, and then it would be really nice to like see how he discovers himself, you know? Yeah. I think that scene when he refuses to take off the clothes, I realized then Hurricane is to black men what Taxi Driver is to white men. You know how white guys love Taxi Driver because, what was his name? Lester, Rick, I forgot his name. Travis, yeah. Travis and Taxi Driver is like the guy who takes no shit. You know, he's been pushed to his limits and now he's ready to fight back. You know what I mean? Like, you know, white men have this idea that they have to set society right and put it all back in order. And black men are fighting like for, you know, defiance against like oppression and expectations, right? And so like I feel like this film sort of symbolizes like the one of the major struggles black men have is to, you know, retain autonomy and dignity in a world that tries to strip it away. And it's sort of like similar but different from the opposing force of Taxi Driver, which is a world that has gone wrong and we now have to set it straight. You get what I'm saying? Like the responsibility in the mind of the white man is to like make everything back in order. And for the black man is to like order himself in a world that seems to try to make him disordered or disorganized. Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, it's different. Like, like you said, for a white man, he views it as a responsibility, but for black men, it's more like protection, I would say.
Yeah.
For him, or also for the people around him, and also just keeping humanity.
Yeah, keeping his humanity, his dignity, right?
Yeah.
I refuse to take off the suit, right? And I mean, you could go even deeper than that, because it used to be against the law for black people to wear certain clothes. Like it was illegal for them to wear suits. If you were a black man caught wearing a suit, you could be thrown in jail because you're wearing clothes above your class. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could also interpret it that way as well too. Very deep scene.
Yeah.
Shout out Denzel.
That's why, like, you know, this is the starting point, basically, where we actually really truly see him in prison. And that's why I said in the beginning, like, this just, you know, makes you think a lot about the prison complex, a lot about this institution, that and how it's designed to make anyone who enters it inhumane. And and just like strip them out of their personalities, out of their, you know, humor, out of their hope. And
Yo, I'm going to read something real quick. I did 4 years tops, never hit PC. Did my time in population with the real OGs. I seen a whole lot of pain, men doing they bids. Most of us praying and dudes trying to go home to their kids. Wasn't nothing like OZ, a bunch of iron and bars. Bunch of players hating snitches, talking to the guards. And a whole penitentiary being ran by broads. Some of them kept it 100, most of them was fraud. Seen a whole lot of chumps, con men and buckles, some big time dealers, kidnappers and busters, pimps and players. I seen some kill with their hand, but I still don't believe the pen is no place for a man. You know what I'm saying? That's Pimp C. Beautiful bars, by the way. And very true story of like Pimp C when he went to jail. You know what I mean? Like, and one of the books that I plan to read after I finish Asada is Angela Davis's book. And Angela Davis is one of the main philosophers around the idea of prison abolition, right? And there's a scene that comes up later in the story, because essentially Lesra finished reading Rubin's book, and he decides to write a letter to Rubin. Rubin has gone through many changes while he's in jail, right? He's become more intelligent, educated himself, written his book, and continues to write and study his case. And he divorced his wife, or forced his wife to divorce him, right? And Lesra decides to go and meet with Rubin. And when he sits down with Rubin, one of the things that I definitely remember from that conversation was Rubin said, the penitentiary is no place for no man, right? And I think a lot of people interpret that line as saying like that's a place you don't want to go, but no, it's a place that literally should not exist. You know what I mean? And that's something I've been struggling with, because like it's hard for me to not say I don't want Peyton Gentrin in jail, or I don't want Dylan Roof in jail, or I don't want the police officer that murdered George Floyd in jail. You know what I'm saying? But if I wouldn't want that for us, how can I say I also want that for the enemy as well? You get what I'm saying? Yeah,
but I think also the abolition of prisons, or the prison system as we know it, is not gonna come in isolation. Like, it's part of this whole system, especially like in America, but also in the whole world, that comes with capitalism, that comes with class division, that comes with racism, and all these things. So if that ever happens one day, it's not gonna come in isolation. So if the world does really go to that good direction, I guess it's gonna be a long struggle. Yeah, I think some of the problems, like gun violence, for example, would be in a better state. Hopefully, So what did you think about when Lesra met Rubin after they became pen pals and stuff like that? Yeah. So basically, at this point, for Rubin, he tried to fight like his case. He applied and reapplied, and he didn't get any results, and he got declined every time. And he was sort of like in that place where he was talking that he slept during the day and he woke up at night, so he isolated himself from everyone, and he was hopeless. And Lesra coming there brought him a lot of hope. And, you know, also as a writer, because he's not just a prisoner, right? As a writer, knowing that your book and story was read and then taken so seriously by someone, I think is a great honor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think for him also one of the most important parts was like, you know, being acknowledged as a person other than a prisoner. And then also, you know, in the beginning of the movie, he asks the good prison guard if he believed that he actually killed those men, and he says, I don't know. And then he asks Lesra the same question, and Lesra says, I know.
Yeah.
And then he says, how do you know? And Lesra says, I just know it. And yeah, that's like, he just knows it because he knows how black people are treated in this country. So he can see beneath the bullshit.
Yeah.
And he can see, like, you know, Rubin as himself. And I think that's like, that was very touching.
Yeah. When I saw Lesra meet Rubin Carter, it made me think about the time I wrote a letter to a famous person in jail. There's a man named Mumia Abu Jamal. He was accused of murdering police officers, I believe in New Jersey. More on New Jersey later. I got a rant about that. But he was accused of murdering police officers in New Jersey, and he's been in jail wrongfully convicted for this crime since, I believe, like the late 60s, around the same time as Rubin Carter, right? And I wrote a letter to him in college, right, after learning about his story. And I never got a letter back. I never got a response. Don't even know if it made it to him, but I know I paid for the postage, and I went down to the post office and did everything the right way. But he probably gets, you know, thousands of letters and correspondence because he's like a very famous person in jail. But it made me think about if I was Lesra and I was sitting in front of Mumia Abu Jamal or the Hurricane, you know, somebody who's just like me, but on the opposite end, I wouldn't even know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, when I wrote my letter to Mumia, I was like, hey, Mumia, you know, I know you're innocent, and I think you're a victim of this racist, oppressive system, and you continuing to fight for your freedom and continuing to advocate for liberation for all oppressed people, like, it's inspiring for me. I wouldn't even know how to word that if I was in front of him. You know what I mean? Because he's really going through it. Like solitary confinement, can't see his family. Mama died, daddy died, didn't get to go to their funeral, you know? Like saw the world pass by. You know what I mean? Like it's such a crazy thing to think about, you know?
It is. I mean, it's such a sad and hopeless journey that like people like Hurricane goes through that you can't even relate. So then you can't even say anything.
Yeah.
You can't even say, oh, like you should do this, or if I were you, I would do this. Like you can't say that because it's unimaginable to be in that situation.
Yeah. Well, this is getting kind of long in our review, and there's still a lot to say. But I think we might do a speed run through some parts of it. I'm going to talk really quickly about Mobutu. So there's like this friend that Carter has in there who's like this African who got locked up in jail. And this is like the only person that Carter seems to hang out with in prison. And Mobutu says one of the funniest lines. Carter asks Mobutu, hey, what do you think about white people? And Mobutu says, they're okay, but they're a little bit, and he does this like thing with his fingers, like like that was a perfect description of whiteness. Like what whiteness is. Like this. I
know you can't see it, but it's like how Trump dances.
It might be the thumbnail, or yes, just Google Trump dance. Like that is whiteness right there. And this is like the only person like Carter stands in the film. And I gotta say this, there are hints in this film that Carter became Muslim or that he changed his religion, but there isn't really a deep exploration of his faith and his change in mental process. You know what I'm saying? And I thought the film did a disservice by not exploring that. Of course, he's like all about his case. You know, he's on the phone with his lawyers and reading the law books and going over every detail of his case. But, you know, I wish they explored the way he viewed God, the way he viewed his blackness, his self, his evolution, his getting older in jail. You know what I mean? So any comments on that?
I mean, there were definitely hints. I just saw that, like, in his prison cell, behind him when he's reading a book, there's a poster of Malcolm X praying in a mosque. So that's, like, also hinting that, okay, like...
Yeah, but everybody has... Candace Owens got that in her room.
Okay, wow. I mean? Candace Owens, stop it. And... Yeah, I think I just want to mention, like, there are these, like, little hints about the institutions. For example, when Lesra comes to visit Hurricane, there's, like, bunch of people, mostly black, waiting to visit their families in prison. And, like, for example, there's this one woman who probably came a long way to this prison, and they tell her, oh, like, your son is in the lockdown, in the cell, so you're not going to be able to see him. And then she just has to sit there and take it. Like, those little heartbreaking moments, I think, tells a lot about, once again, the institutions.
Right.
But, yeah.
I think another thing, you know, these prisons are usually far away from society. So people are driving 3, 4, 5 hours to get to a jail. And then when you're told, oh, no, you can't see whoever you came to see today, that's like crazy, you know. And another thing is, like, a lot of times in jail, those phone calls are crazy expensive. Like when we watched When They See Us, and like every call was $20 or something like that. You know what I mean? Or $30 a minute, something like that, you know. So absolutely insane how we treat prisoners in this country. But moving forward in the story, essentially, you know, Lesra and I want to call him Mobutu now, because the longer Carter stays in jail, the more he starts to dress like an African missionary, like Islamic prince. You know what I mean? Like, it's hilarious. But basically, Carter, you know, allows Lesra to come visit him with the white folks he comes and stays with. And these white folks say, you know, they sit down with Carter, and Carter is a little bit flirting with Lisa, and like a little bit, and like, you know, kind of standoffish with the other two guys. And he sort of gets angry with them because they come across like they don't fully believe in his innocence, in my opinion. And so, you know, Lesra, you know, says, you know, I'm sorry, brother, but I gave you something. And he gives him like something in his, I forgot what he gave him. Lesra gave him a gift. Do you remember what it was?
A boxing coat.
Yeah, he gives him like the boxing coat. And I think it was like, it says champion or something like that. Or Carter, right? And so Carter starts boxing in a cell. And that's supposed to like remind him of his like greatness as a boxer, right? Any comments on any of those scenes?
Yeah, I think, I mean, justifiably, Rubin has trust issues regarding white people. Yeah. Because of Della Pesca and also probably all the other white people he encountered in New Jersey. And basically, when these Canadians come to him and saying that they want to help him, he's like, what's in it for them? A little bit, you know? Like, he knows that Lesra is there. And, you know, but I think he also is trying to protect Lesra, and he's suspicious if these white people are trying to take advantage of him as well. You know, so I think that's why he's a bit standoffish as well. Yeah. And if I were to describe his fits, I would say like is African-American Islamic Studies professor in Berkeley.
Yes, that describes, high five. That's perfect. African-American Islamic Studies professor. Like, his name is like Prince Shakur Muhammad Jamal Washington. Yes, Washington III. Yes. Yeah, like Abdul Rahim Simmons. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, basically the Canadians, you know, and Lesra and Carter become friends over time, like pen pals. They're exchanging letters, and like the letters between Lisa and Carter get a little bit spicy. He says, "Don't tempt me now," like on that typewriter, click, click, click.
Little tension there.
Yeah. Did you think that Carter and Lisa had a thing? I don't know.
A little bit, because like it's not like Lisa is in a relationship with the other guys, you know. So
yeah, she's just in an H.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, she got a little wet because Carter was just so like strong and I don't know, fighting for a good cause, trying to free himself and stuff like that. Like, for me, those type of things at least get us wet.
Okay. Okay.
Because like, you know, it's inspirational.
Yeah. I wish Denzel Washington, you know, didn't have that idea in his head that if he kissed a white woman on screen, his black female fans would turn on him. You know what I mean? Because I knew nothing was going to happen between him and Lisa, because I just know his career. Like, he's never kissed a white woman on screen, as far as I remember, right? Never had a romantic interest because he always knew his audience is black. Like, people come to see Denzel Washington be super black on screen and they come to root for him. You know what I mean? So, I don't think that the story needed that, though. Like, if they were going to ship Lisa and Hurricane, like, together, you know what I mean? I don't think that would happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, plus he was in prison. So, like, that would have been hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but that's just, like, you know, would have been hard to do. But, yeah, I like that they kept it sort of platonic, even if there was anything like that, you know, because we're not really sure. Yeah.
I mean, parts of the relationship between Lisa and Carter become toxic because, like, he calls, like, in the middle of the night and says, my appeal got denied, and then hangs up and leaves everybody in suspense, and he's like, I want to kill myself, and then hangs up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's sending wild mixed messages, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, but yeah, basically what happens is that they appeal again, but they get denied one more time, and then when that happens, it's sort of like now has become classic Rubin move to cut people out of his life because he doesn't want to, like, drag them and burden them, and that's like the same thing he did with his wife, right? Yeah. So he basically, like, tells Lesra and everyone else that not to call them or write to them and anything like that, and then a couple of years later, Lesra sends another letter, which has, like, a picture of him and his girlfriend, which was, like, really cute. And I remember there you said, like, what if his girlfriend was white?
That would have been hilarious. Like, Canada really took him.
Wow. Yeah. And then he also sent his high school diploma because he tells him, like, you deserve this. And that also explains why he doesn't have a record of his high school. And that's why, like, Lisa was trying to get the schools.
Right. Trying to scam that boy into college.
And that really, like, gets Hurricane emotional.
I really wish, like, in the film they just let Lesra pretend to be, like, the valedictorian of his high school so he could give, like, the graduation speech. Yo, I came from Brooklyn all the way to Toronto, and I just want you to know anything you can do it if you put your mind to it. And also, milk don't need to be in a plastic bag. All right, yo, let's go.
Okay. No.
That would have been great.
You make him sound autistic. He's not autistic.
No, I'm autistic. I'm just trying to do my best Biggie Smalls impersonation. Okay. I'm joking, by the way. But yeah, basically, you know, 1/4 of the film towards the end becomes the Canadians on the case. And because they're white, they think they're lawyers. So they essentially start investigating the case and relitigating it. And, you know, all three of them go to, like, his lawyer. And his lawyer says, you know, other people have tried. Many have come. Few have stayed. You know what I mean? And so the Canadians say, no, we're different. You know what I mean? They not like us. The Canadians go, da, 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 da. And so they start knocking on doors and kicking down windows and slapping people around, and
they even start crib walking.
Yeah, they start doing all sorts of shit all across America, just doing wild Canadian hijinks to get to the bottom of this. And these are the people Drake should have sent to investigate Kendrick Lamar. Wow. To find out dirt on him.
Yeah.
Drake, if you still have time, just call Liv Schreiber, Dorikar Unger, and what's his name, John Hanna, to go down to Compton and start knocking on doors.
They're not going to do that because I feel like they would support Kendrick.
Wow. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, basically they just start, you know, going to the old places and putting two and two together. People that were witnesses had their testimony scrubbed. You know, a lady who lived above the place saw a fat Italian man, like, grubbing through the money, and when she saw him, he yelled, it was some Negroes. Some Negroes came in here and killed everybody. Call the police, right? And so, yeah, the Canadians start also finding out that the car that they described was not really the car, yada, yada, yada. Della Pesca, you know, confronts them in, like, the cheesiest way possible. I hated that scene. It was so cringe.
Yeah.
Della Pesca like comes around the corner like a wild pedophile. Like
you know those men who wear trench coats and then like you're scared that they're gonna flash you?
Yeah. He came out like that. Like, listen here. I got a shocker for you. You don't know what you're doing around here. But Della Pesca like confronts the two Canadians. And in his best mob intimidation style, he says, "You don't belong around here. You're no good people. You need to go. You need to go." And then he hops in his car and drives away. Meanwhile, also, Hurricane is in jail, and like the warden is intimidating him too. And he says like, "Some shit is going down. I just want you to know, shit happens." And so that's all the shit I gotta say. Alright. And so the warden and Carter's like, "What the fuck was that about?" But anyway, any comments on any of those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, it was like just a wild, hunt.
Yeah.
To find justice, I guess, and they also like move across the prison where when Carter talks to them on the payphone, he can see them across the street.
Yeah, they moved to the U.S. to help a black man get out of jail. Which is
like a crazy like dedication. I mean, you appreciative, but giving white savior again.
It's very white savior, but those are good allies, I guess. Like, they're really on the case. Like, Karen's on the case could get every black man free in America tomorrow. It's just they're so hyped up off fictional children kidnapped by Democrat pedophiles, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just,
And also, like, how funny is, like, two immigrants, Della Pesca from Italy, and then these Canadians from Canada,
right? And
Della Pesca is telling them to go back to your country.
And the crazy thing is, Della Pesca is the most racist one, but the Canadians have an actual slave.
Oh my God. He's not their slave.
All right, Lazarus is not their slave, but come on, like they literally kidnapped a black child.
Wow.
Like, with their parents.
I can't disagree with that. Anyway, one thing I want to mention also, artists.
Yeah.
Because they show like, the guy that was in the driver's seat that was the fan of Rubin that got into this whole mess without even like knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
They show him in only one scene and he's like cleaning the toilets.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a flashback. It's like 5 seconds. And I just wish that they told a bit more about him as well.
And the thing is, Artist is like probably the realest dude in this story, because like he could have been free if he just snitched on Rubin, but he's like, we didn't do anything, and he did like 30-40 years in jail for some bullshit that they didn't do.
And I mean, that's also what Rubin says. He says like, he's my hero. Yeah. Because he could have gotten out of it and blamed it on me, but he didn't.
Bruh, I don't care if I'm in the car with my favorite celebrity. I'm snitching.
Me too. Like, what the hell? I'm not doing 35 years in jail.
For Beyonce?
No. Beyonce is gonna get all the funding. What am I gonna get?
I'm just imagining
Are you gonna send me?
I'm just imagining you in the passenger seat driving with bad girl Riri. Y'all are like twerking and driving and swerving all through Miami. Then the cops pull you over, and then Rihanna turns to you and says, "Girl, you ain't know I got a gun under my seat and I stole a Snickers bar." And you just like, bitch.
I'm gonna blame it on her.
You like,
why you gotta make the other celebrity black? So now it's problematic.
Why? Because you sent Rihanna to jail? Yeah, you gotta live with that, bro. That's fucked up. You sent Rihanna.
I'm gonna become like the white girl who snitched on Rihanna.
Yeah, boy, you could not go outside.
Oh my god,
you gonna get me killed.
Can I have Taylor Swift?
Yeah, you can send Taylor Swift to jail.
Okay.
Quick, girl, give me the gun and let me eat the Snickers bar. Anyway, long story short, essentially, they find enough evidence to like try this case again, but Della Pesca has, really made this case hard for Hurricane because he's lost 2 jury trials, which is unheard of. Like, well, it's generally not, it doesn't happen often. Usually you get 1 jury trial and then you get an appeal, but you don't get 2 jury trials for the same case, right? So they have enough evidence to bring a new case, but Carter's lawyers tell him, look, you have to take this case with the new evidence to a New Jersey court. If you go to the federal courts, you're sort of like skipping the line, and the judge will not accept that, right? So you either try this case here in Jersey with the new evidence, or you run the risk of losing again at the federal with the old evidence that you've lost with before. And there's a very intense scene when Carter is talking to his lawyers, you know, in the visitation room, and he like bangs on the glass and says, enough, we're going to do this. We're going to run it. We're going to run the play because, you know, I either go forward or I'm done. You know what I mean? And so he's really risking it all. And he says, I'm going to take that shit to trial. So, any comments on those scenes?
That scene was so powerful. I'm watching it again right now, like on mute, and I have chills, and I'm almost gonna cry. Like, it's so powerful, really. Like, Denzel there shined for me because, like, his face is just like, you have to get me out of here because I'm gonna kill myself if I don't go to this court. To this federal court, I'm gonna kill myself. And I felt like he just really translated that with his face, with his voice, with his emotion. Oh my God, give this man another Oscar.
It was a great scene. I love that scene as well. I also think it's kind of interesting how this movie sort of becomes like a legal drama, and you really are weighing like the options. Like, damn, if I was Carter, what would I do? You know, run the new play with the new evidence, or the old play in a higher court with less racial bias. And I gotta say this, a lot of people think like the East Coast of America is more liberal. New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, right? People think, because those states usually vote blue, like they voted for Kamala Harris in the last election, and they generally vote for the left in all the presidential elections, and their representatives and senators are majority left-leaning Democrats, whatever, right? But I'm reading Asada's book, and I know y'all are tired of me saying it, but I read this to Akdi. Asada was tried in New Jersey, right? Asada, got found not guilty multiple times, beating all these false accusations that the racist police were throwing at her all the time in New Jersey. But she was fighting for her life every single time. You get what I'm saying? And one of her lawyers tells her one day, I would rather try a case in Mississippi than in New Jersey, right? Like, that's so crazy to think about. Like, there's a lot of Klansmen in New Jersey. There's a lot of racist motherfuckers in New Jersey. Confederate flag flying motherfuckers in New Jersey. MAGA supporting motherfuckers in New Jersey. It's really bad. You get what I'm saying? So, I think, the situation of Carter, a lot of the times when we think about these movies about injustice of black people, we think Alabama, Texas, Florida, Rosewood, you get what I'm saying? But yeah, this is happening like literally like 30 miles from New York City. Like all these events, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Central 5 happened in New York.
New York, right? Yeah.
But I really like the I guess we're going into the court scenes. But yeah, they basically decide to go into the, federal court. And they're risking it. If the judge doesn't accept to look over the evidence, then they're going to lose it once and for all. And then Rubin is going to stay in jail for the rest of his life. And you can continue.
All right, yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say, basically, they take it to trial. One of the inconsistencies is that there really was a cop who was trying to pin this murder and all these crimes on Carter, but his name was not Della Pesca. It was something else. I forgot. But he was dead at the time that Carter actually got free. So when you watch the movie and you see Della Pesca in there, like scowling in the back, looking like he's like about to die.
His character was inspired by that cop in real life. Yeah,
the Della Pesca character is fictional, but if you're looking at the real cop, he wasn't alive. Like, he died feeling like, he really did put that black bastard in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, all right. There's a very powerful speech that Rubin Carter gives to the judge, basically saying like, I'm fighting for my life here, and I was trained to be a boxer, to destroy men, to be a big beast, but Rubin Carter is not a murderer. I might have beat people up, but I never like killed people. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that Carter's let free. The judge says we can definitely tell by looking at the evidence that this case was motivated by racial bias in its adjudication and its prosecution, et cetera, right? They partially win because the prosecution was not expecting Carter to take his case to trial that day, so the prosecution had no reason or no way of like preparing their actual attack, so they get caught off guard, but it works in Carter's favor and he wins, and the whole crowd goes crazy, and that's it. Yeah. That's it pretty much. The last final scene, Carter is released and they ask him, how does it feel? Are you still going to be called the Hurricane? And he says, yeah, I'm still going to be the Hurricane because the hurricane is beautiful. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then they show us like inside the prison where Carter used to be, and everyone is celebrating for him as well. And low-key, I was expecting like his wife to be there, but she wasn't, or his child also, and stuff like that. So yeah, and they basically give us like a wrap of like what happened to the characters. So basically Rubin ended up going to Canada as well. And he became like this executive director of the Association in Defense of the Wrongly Convicted. And, he still has good relationships with his wife. John Artis was also released, and he's living in Virginia. Yeah. And he counsels youthful offenders. Leslie Martin became a lawyer. Yeah. And he's also in Canada, Vancouver, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's how the movie ends. Yeah,
and also Carter got a belt. He's the first person to win a middleweight championship belt for his 20-year fight for freedom, even though he didn't win it by fighting. That's what I'm saying earlier. Like, champions are made outside of the ring, off the court. It's for what they do with their platform that makes them true heroes, right? One thing I want to say, though, about the judge is like one of the unspoken heroes here, because literally none of this would have happened without him. Like the whole movie, the story, Carter could have died in jail. Like nobody would have learned anything from this. It would have been another blemish on America's history of racial injustice, right? The only reason Carter is free is because another Carter picked the judge. Jimmy Carter got Hurricane Carter free. In America, when we elect our presidents, these presidents have power to pick the federal judges that decide these types of cases, whether black men get another trial for a wrongfully convicted case, whether certain laws are passed, whether they're viewed as constitutional or not. So a lot of people that say, well, it doesn't matter if we vote for Kamala or Trump or Biden or J.D. Vance, whatever, right? Like, dog, like literally. This man's life was directly related to who people picked for president back in like 1975 or whatever. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So, shout out to, we don't have love for the Democrats here, but we have to realize like there's more at stake in these elections than just a popularity contest, whether we like Kamala's dance moves. You get what I'm saying? Yeah,
of course. Like, that's why everyone screams like vote, 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 and use your right as a citizen, because at the end, it can come and bite you in the back. Right. Or, affect the people in your neighborhood or your family.
Or the world. Because before we turned on this recording, we were watching Trump in the Oval Office having a hissy fit against Zelensky, saying that you need to be thankful for America giving you weapons. You don't have the cards. You're going to lose your country. Like that's directly a result of our bad choices.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to dive into that part. Yeah. I don't want to dive into that topic because I want to talk about the ending of the movie. But what did you think of the ending of Hurricane being free?
It was inspirational, a bit like, cheesy a bit, But after talking about the movie, I like it a bit less for the plot holes. Like, for example, we never saw him reunite with his son or his kid, whoever, if it was a boy or a girl, right? We just know he has one. Yeah. Right? Artist as well got only like a brief cameo when his story is just as profound. And just in general, right? Like, Carter is a more complex character than just a black man who was victimized by the justice system, which he was, right? He was a black man who, was at sometimes bad. He was on the wrong side of the law. I mean, you don't get 4 court-martials for nothing. Yeah, the white folks in Germany might have been picking on him, but, I don't think it's possible for one man to get constantly, like, fucked with throughout his life. You know what I mean? I feel like the movie would have been more interesting had they showed, Carter on that opposite side doing petty criminal stuff, but this is what he gets jammed up with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the white saviorism, the good police warden, there's like one or two good cops, you know what I mean? Like a good judge at the end. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel like the movie is only indicative of Della Pesca as the bad racist, and only if Della Pesca were gone, none of this would happen, right? As if it's not an entire system that railroads black men into the jail cells. You know what I'm saying? One last thing I've got to get off. Sorry, I know you're tired.
No, it's okay.
Hurricane is just one of many black people who were in jail. And not just even black people, political prisoners or people that were wrongly convicted that became a celebratory cause. Like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, right? It was free Huey P. Newton, free Assata, free Angela Davis, free Leonard Peltier, free Mumia Abu-Jamal, free different people, free the Panther 21, free Leonard Peltier, who just got free, by the way. Like, there have been several people that people like said, we're going to rally and champion until people right this wrong and this justice. You know what I mean? Albert Woodfox, so many people that got, wrongfully convicted too. So I just wanted to say that, like, Hurricane is like just one of many that existed at this time. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, I think like what you were just mentioning, also so many people got locked up, political prisoners especially. It's like this system, once again, has become also a way of like just stopping free speech and blaming and putting a stamp on these people that, disables them to be in the society, disables them to use their intellect to influence future generations in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And it's used as a weapon, to keep the same bigoted ideology and keep people like, just blind to certain truths that the government and the systems does to them, which is a shame. And, once again, like, I know most of them might have not gotten justice, but, I wish freedom and justice for all of them. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the movie, I agree with you, but also, like, at the end, there was that scene when they were waiting for the final verdict. Basically, they didn't know if the judge would, accept the evidence. There was that scene between Lesra and Hurricane where Lesra was like, I'm going to break you out if they don't free you. Right? And that was very, like, cool to see them bond one more time and sort of, like, still, like, thinking, even if this doesn't work out, like, I'm going to continue to fight. Like, to see that in Lesra, that was very dope. Without like the Canadians hovering over them, that was a touching scene. And honestly, like, I can acknowledge the white saviorism in this movie, but at the same time, I feel like Rubin's story is so powerful, it doesn't like go back into the shadows. It stands out. It stands out more than the white saviorism. Yeah. So it's sort of okay.
Yeah, I mean, even with all the white saviorism, this still is a movie that gets in your spirit, in your soul. You're motivated by it. You know what I mean? I just feel like, though, if you look at it, though, from like, whey protein, lift bro culture, you can also see some of that as well in here, too.
I don't know if they're watching this movie.
Yes, they are. Everybody loves Denzel. This is like a popular movie. Okay. Like, I feel like people might be upset, like, bro, I came to see a sports drama, bro. What you mean this isn't Rocky 3? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, after talking about it, I give it now this might be bad. I might give it a 7.
I was going to say the same thing.
Really? A 7?
Yeah.
It came down a little bit.
Yeah.
When you watch it and you turn your mind off, it hits.
Yeah.
When you think about it, just so I don't match with you, I'm gonna give it a 6.5, and you can give it the 7.
Okay. Why don't you want to match with me?
Well, because I feel like somebody has to be the mean one. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Somebody has to be the mean one in some of our reviews.
Okay, but anyway, I'm giving it a 7. It's a great story. It's a bit like of a cliche storytelling way, not in a bad way specifically, kind of nostalgic. But yeah, there were like some unexplained things like weird Canadians or the unnecessary white savior prison guard.
Yeah.
And you know, some of the stuff in Rubin's life that we didn't get to see or felt rushed. But overall, once again, I feel like, you know, we watch so many great stories that are real that it's hard to like judge the story, because like, yeah, it's like, it's really hard to fuck it up.
It's hard to fuck it up. I think you have a soft spot for films about people wrongfully convicted and getting justice. I think you really like those types of films.
Yeah, because it's like it's type of strength I aspire to have. You know, I feel like it's a different level of psychological resilience, because today, at least for myself, I get so upset by so many little things daily, you know. I don't know, I get upset when you don't like pick up your socks.
Okay.
And then I remind myself like, this is such a little thing, why would you like make yourself upset about this?
Yeah.
And seeing that type of resilience and strength just gives me motivation.
Yeah.
And I really admire it.
Yeah, it's an inspiring story. You know, I'm not particularly fond of those types of stories. You know, I like more stories of like direct resistance rather than like survival, like of prison stuff. But I still appreciate like When They See Us and The Hurricane and, you know, other films like that as well. But yeah, overall, man, this is a movie that touches you. One of Denzel's best performances, even though secretly this is like a made-for-TV movie. I'm going to put this over Glory. I'm going to put this under Glory. I think Glory is still a better film.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in that movie, Denzel was going like head-to-head with like Morgan Freeman and like, Ferris Bueller. Like, he's going back and forth with like great actors. Like, he literally carried this whole thing on his back. Maybe Lesra did some work too, because Lesra dropped some tears and I love his Brooklyn accent. But other than that, everybody else here could have just been like flies on the wall. Like Denzel just, you know, does amazing things on screen.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of movie, obviously Glory is better than this movie. But in terms of acting, Denzel acting, I'm going to say Hurricane.
Really?
Yeah, because I've never like watched this movie, you know, just mute on the back as we're talking and got emotional again. I almost cried again.
Really?
When I saw like him talking to his lawyers and doing that, like punching the prison screen with the phone.
Really? That was powerful?
Oh, that's so good.
That was better than the whipping scene in Glory?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's powerful. Okay. All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree. I like that. But either way, this has been episode 111, 111, and this is the end of Black History Month. But Black History never ends, so we're going to be doing more stories in the future, but also some different films. So if you have any ones you want us to cover, put it in the comments. We'll try to get to it. I'm sure Akdi has a bunch of films she wants us to watch as well.
I do.
On her list. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. And peace.